Man in the Cage MMA and Combat Sports Podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back in. Jeff Brantley here, the host of the Man in the Cage MMA and Combat Sports Podcast, here to do another EA Sports UFC 4 simulation. This one for the main event of UFC 262 going down Saturday night at the Toyota Center in Houston, Texas. Michael Chandler taking on Charles Oliveira for the vacant UFC lightweight title. Very excited about this one, and if you want a complete preview, I'm going to give you some in this game right now, but if you want a full preview of the Michael Chandler-Charles Oliveira fight, as well as the rest of that UFC 262 main card and some of the prelims, go check out episode 86 of the Man in the Cage MMA and Combat Sports Podcast right now. It's up on YouTube. It's also up on wherever you get your podcasts, Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get them, guys. Go check it out right now, episode 86 of the podcast, if you want a full preview of this fight as well as the others. But I'm going to give you a little bit of that as we simulate this, as well as some new stuff. As you see Iron Michael Chandler walk into the octagon here, making sure he's not hiding any brass knuckles or anything. Not that Michael Chandler would do that, of course, right? Michael Chandler, a very upstanding guy, a very good guy. Talked about it earlier this week on the podcast. Very refreshing intensity to him all the time. And seems like a real person. You know, there's certain people out there who will have a kind of a persona, but it seems fake to you. That's not Michael Chandler. He's honestly a good guy. He's a family guy. He's a competitor. It's going to be fun to watch him compete coming up Saturday night at UFC 262 as you see him step into the octagon now. And Charles Dubronx Oliveira making his way now at the Toyota Center here in EA Sports UFC 4 to face Michael Chandler. And what a massive moment for Charles Oliveira and the country of Brazil in general, that he has a chance to go on this stage here and be possibly the next UFC lightweight champion after such greats as Khabib and others, of course. Massive moment for Charles Oliveira. It's fun to see the improvements he's made over the years here. I talked about that as well on episode 86 previewing it. Charles Oliveira gets better, fight in and fight out, and that's what I'm also curious to see coming up Saturday night, is if Charles Oliveira continues to make some of those strides we've seen with the striking. His jiu-jitsu is always going to be there, but the striking strides that he has made over the years here and what he's learned from some of his losses, really impressive. And as you can see the tail of the tape here in EA Sports UFC 4, Michael Chandler 4 years older than Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira also a 2-inch height advantage and a little bit of a reach advantage there. So it could be something to watch certainly in this fight. Again, Michael Chandler, a smaller lightweight. He's just going to be always that smaller lightweight. He's going to have to get through. He's going to have to get on the inside a little bit of Charles Oliveira if he wants to have success. But that's what Michael Chandler's very good at. He's very good at exploding in and out of the pocket, using that footwork. He's going to have to close the distance, and he's going to have to use some good feints, some good combinations, and change the level of his strikes, which he's very good at. He did that to Dan Hooker in his first UFC fight. Now he gets a second chance here in the UFC, which is also impressive. That here's a guy who competed his whole career in Bellator. Only his second under the UFC promotion banner here, and now he gets a title shot for that vacant lightweight title, and this is a very good fight, and the one the UFC needed and the one mixed martial arts fans needed to bring us out of that Khabib era. I mean, Khabib, the lightweight champion that he was, fight in, fight out, just fighting at such a high level. This high-level fight is the fight we need to bring us out of there. You know, I'm not saying Chandler or Oliveira could beat Khabib, but it's always a letdown if you get a non-competitive fight, if you don't have that type of fun fight coming off of a great champion like a Khabib. This fight is that, though. This is a very good fight. This is what the UFC needed. This is what mixed martial arts fans wanted to see. High-level fight between two guys who, on paper, we'll see how the video game plays it out here, but on paper, these guys very even, in my opinion. I think it's only going to be a small amount of advantages here and there that will get either man their hand raised and new at the end of the night with Bruce Buffer and become the new UFC lightweight champion. And again, if you want the full preview and prediction, go check out episode 86 of the podcast right now. And I will give you at the end of the simulation here my thoughts on whether or not this is accurate or I agree with what the game is going to put down here in this simulation of the UFC 262 main event. As Bruce Buffer here finishes up fighter introductions, 17,000 people on their feet at the Toyota Center. It will be 17,000 people again this Saturday night, actually. Again, we have fans back in the arena. I'll be one of them, so follow me on Twitter at Jeff_Brantley. You can see me scream with a foam finger or a foam hat on maybe, or something else stupid I'll do on Saturday night as I have a cold beer and watch all of these great fights at the Toyota Center for UFC 262. As Herb Dean now gives some final instructions to the fighters, and as my boy Mike Goldberg would say, and here we go. Is that too soon? Sorry, Mike Goldberg. Bellator needs to hire you back. As Chandler and Oliveira, we get the action going. standing right in the center of the octagon, exchanging some barbs. Oliveira showing off that good kicking game that he has. Chandler showing off those boxing skills that he has, landing some good straight rights early on here. And again, both these guys fighting in a phone booth so far in the simulation, and this is exactly how I see this fight going down. Both these guys not going to shy away from each other, not going to back down. They're going to plant their feet and go at it. They do not care if they get subbed. They do not care if they get knocked out. That's why this is a fun fight. They're going to compete. No one's going to be running. No one's going to be backing away. You saw Oliveira for a second there and he tried it again there, but got hit with a check uppercut by Michael Chandler. Try to shoot a takedown, try to grab a takedown. That might be something Oliveira needs to do, and in fact, I think he does need to do, as Michael Chandler with a big left kick, a big left high head kick, knocks down Oliveira, almost finished him with some ground and pound there, but Oliveira able to get back to his feet. Still 3 minutes left in the first round here, and Oliveira already in a little bit of trouble. Chandler really going to work on those legs with those low leg kicks and also going to the work with those body punches. I talked about that again at the beginning of the simulation here. Chandler very good at changing the level of his strikes. Did it against Dan Hooker. He could do the same thing here as he keeps tagging him with that right hand, and I think that'll be really the key for Michael Chandler. Both of what we're seeing right now. Land the right hand, land those boxing combinations, change the level of your strikes, and then stuff these takedowns here, as Oliveira just cannot grab a takedown as he's in a little bit of trouble. He obviously needs to get the fight to the ground to use that jiu-jitsu. He has not been successful with that so far here in the simulation against Michael Chandler, but did almost land a big knee there, and that is the wild card here. Oliveira is sneaky. He is improving on his feet. The shoot box style that he trains under out in Brazil, it does allow you to throw some nasty kicks, some nasty knees, some nasty elbows, and really be slick with some of your striking combinations and really land some devastating stuff. And we've seen in the past, Chandler has had, Patricio Pitbull and others land, as Chandler dropping down, defending the takedown with a guillotine choke here. I don't think he's going to get this sunk in, though. I don't think Chandler's going to be able to submit. I could be wrong. We've seen crazier things. I don't think Chandler's going to be able to submit Charles Oliveira in a fight as Oliveira on the ground. This is his realm. He's just too good on the mat with his jiu-jitsu. He steps out of that, gets out of that pretty easily. And this is where Oliveira wants the fight. On top, trying to work into side control now, working some ground and pound. Chandler trying to obviously get up, trying to get back into a half guard situation, which he does. Now back into full guard against Charles Oliveira. That's probably the best place, obviously, you can be on the ground with Oliveira. Have him in your full guard if you're there. You don't want to be there, but put him in your full guard. Try to get back to your feet. Oliveira now working back to half guard, trying to work for something in the game as the round concludes. But Oliveira bloodied up, not a good round for him. He ended the round actually well there, and that's what he's got to do Saturday night. Try to work for some of that jiu-jitsu. Try to get to the ground. Try to get Chandler a little bit more in his element. Not that he can't strike, but get him more in that element. As you can see the replay of the high head kick there. Oliveira does leave himself a little bit open in fights, and that's going to be open for him, but Oliveira's got to do that. And I would give round one here in the game, I'd give it to Michael Chandler. Obviously, he ended the round on the mat. Judges can award that, but the knockdown, the other combinations that Chandler was landing there, you have to give him round one versus Charles Oliveira. We'll see what happens in the second round here, as both guys touching gloves both rounds. They do respect each other. There's an intensity about this fight, but they also respect each other. Oliveira missing with a right hook there. Chandler ducking underneath it. Oh, a nice leaping kick there from Charles Oliveira, as he did catch Michael Chandler sleeping a little bit. Chandler trying to go back to that left high head kick. Oliveira trying to go back to the takedown, can't grab it again. Chandler doing a real good job stuffing those takedowns, and that could be, in fact, a real issue for Oliveira coming up on Saturday night. In fact, at the Toyota Center, it really could be a huge factor in that one. As you can see, the total strikes landed so far, Chandler 41, Charles Oliveira 12. And so far, actually, I'm going to spoil it a little bit. We'll see what happens at the end of the simulation here, how it concludes. There's still a lot of time left. But I do mostly see this simulation going how I see this fight going so far. Chandler using his wrestling background, stuffing those takedowns, not allowing Oliveira just to get his wrestling off, just not to get down to the mat too much, too quickly with that jiu-jitsu. Standing up, using the combinations to the body, eating some strikes, but mostly just giving it to Charles Oliveira. That's how I see it going down Saturday night. Oliveira now throwing some more combinations, trying to back Michael Chandler up. Chandler throwing his own, getting backed up himself now, and Oliveira shooting in on another takedown, but Chandler again avoids it, able to stuff that takedown, and oh! Sound like Joe Rogan there. An overhand right from Michael Chandler puts out Charles Oliveira. That's the end of it. Michael Chandler wins via KO over Charles Oliveira. Like Elon Musk tanking Bitcoin and cryptocurrency right now. Michael Chandler comes in, has his day, wrecks the party for Charles Oliveira, and gets the UFC lightweight title in this EA Sports UFC 4 simulation. That overhand right there. Nasty from Chandler. Absolutely nasty. That was, for a video game, that was pretty nasty there. Charles Oliveira, a bunch of cuts on his face, and Bruce Buffer going to make it official here as Michael Chandler in EA Sports UFC 4 gets the lightweight title. And I have to tell you, I agree, almost scary actually. Maybe I should rethink my prediction. Almost 100% agree with how this EA Sports UFC 4 simulation played out. I think Michael Chandler's right hand is going to be able to score all night. I think he's going to have a lot of success stuffing any kind of wrestling, any kind of takedown attempts that Charles Oliveira attempts. I do think there might be some hairy points for Michael Chandler. Oliveira will land some things here and there. He might even have some opportunities on the mat here and there to get on top, get into Chandler's guard, and be able to work his jiu-jitsu in. But overall, I think Michael Chandler will have just that slight advantage. Well, that's been another EA Sports UFC 4 fight simulation. Thanks to the Man in the Cage team for once again putting together that simulation beforehand so that I could just react to it as it was happening. It's fun. Make sure you check back next week. We'll do another one up on the Man in the Cage MMA and Combat Sports YouTube page. Make sure you go subscribe to it. That way you get the latest notifications whenever there's a new simulation or whenever there's a new episode. Again, new episodes out weekly, twice a week. We already have episode 86 out today, talking about UFC 262, previewing that card, the full main card, some of the prelims. Go check it out right now, YouTube, also on wherever you get your podcasts, Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get them, guys. Once again, a reminder, follow me on Twitter at Jeff_Brantley. Same thing on Instagram, guys. Let's enjoy the fight Saturday night. I know I will, and I'll talk to everybody coming up next week on the podcast.
The Man in the Cage MMA and Combat Sports Podcast.